It is good to be back in New Hampshire. Thank you, Mike, for that wonderful introduction and for your service to our country. I want to thank the president of Nashua Community College, Lucille Jordan, for hosting us here today. Give Lucille a big round of applause. We've got Professor Paul Wunderlich, who gave me a great tour. Where's Paul? Where is he? He's got a beard. You can see him. There he is. And I want to thank your mayor, Donnelly Lazo, for joining us here today. Where's Donnelly? Right over there, there. Right in there. It is... I love you back. It is good to be back in New Hampshire. Oh, okay, we'll be all right. They probably were just standing too long. Just give them a little space. Where's our EMS folks? They'll be okay. Just give them a little space. This happens sometimes. You guys been here a while after the magging? Well, no, you have to eat ahead of time. Keep your blood sugar high. We got somebody over there? Jordan? Right in the middle. Here we go. Here's our guy. Make a little room, everybody. All right, let's make sure everybody's okay. You all right? All good? Okay, I think you're going to be all right. Okay. So remember, eat before you come to a presidential event. Now, I am from Chicago. So, you know a little snow was not going to keep me away. Which is why I can relate to New Hampshireites. Because, this is just like a dusting. It's like, what's the big deal? There's no big deal. When Air Force One landed, there were like 50 people waiting to shake my hand. They got icicles on their eyebrows. They're like, hey, great weather. So I want to thank all of you for making the trek out here. I really appreciate it. I just had a chance to look at some of the cutting edge work that's being done here at the auto shop. Earlier this week, I gave a speech to American auto workers, where I said that one reason this country has an auto industry today is because we're not just building cars again, we're building better cars. We're building cars that use less oil, cars that go further on a gallon of gas, and in part, that's because of what's happening in places like this community college. It's because of so many of you. Now, I don't need to tell you why fuel efficiency is so important, especially right now. Most of you have filled up your gas tanks in the last week or two. Am I right? It hasn't been a happy experience. You've seen the prices go up almost every day, and you've already felt the pinch, whether you own a car or maybe you own a small business and that uses energy. Some of you have no choice but to drive a long way to work. And higher gas prices are like a tax straight out of your paycheck. And in the winter, the rising price of oil is also making it more expensive to heat your homes. Now, I know this is hard to believe, but some politicians are seeing higher gas prices as a political opportunity. You're shocked, I know. But it's true, right in the middle of an election year. Who would have thought? So recently, the lead in one news story said, and I'm quoting here, gasoline prices are on the rise and Republicans are licking their chops. Licking their chops. Now let me tell you, only in politics do people respond to bad news with such enthusiasm. That doesn't happen anywhere else. And so, as a consequence, you can anticipate we're going to be hearing a lot about how people have these magic three-point plans to make sure that you're only paying $2 a gallon gas. Just like we heard about it in the last election, just like we've heard about it for the last 30 years. And you know what the essence of their plan is going to be, which is step one, drill, step two, drill, step three, keep drilling. And by the way, we'll drill in your backyard. Wherever it is, we're just going to put up more rigs. Now, if there's one thing I know about New Hampshire, it's that your political bull detector is pretty keen. It's pretty sharp. You know that we can't just drill our way to lower gas prices. There are no quick fixes or silver bullets. If somebody tells you there are, they're not telling you the truth. If we're going to take control of our energy future, which we have to do, if we're going to avoid high gas prices every single year, with a lot of politicians talking every single year but nothing happening, if we're going to avoid that, then we've got to have an all-of-the-above strategy that develops every single source of American energy. Not just oil and gas, but also wind and solar and biofuels. We've got to keep developing the technology that allows us to use less oil in our cars and trucks, less oil in our buildings and our factories. And that's the strategy we've been pursuing for the last 3 years. And it's the only real solution to this challenge. Now, here's the good news. We're making progress. And you can see it in this chart. There's a chart behind me right here. We're using visual aids today. The bar on the left shows that 6 years ago, 60% of the oil we used was imported. Since I took office, America's dependence on foreign oil has gone down every single year. Every single year. In fact, in 2010, it was under 50% for the first time in 13 years. For the first time. And, we gave one of these handy charts to everybody who came today. So you can impress your family and friends with your knowledge. It makes a great conversation piece at parties. Now, one of the reasons our dependence on foreign oil is down is because of policies put in place by our administration, but also our predecessor's administration. And whoever succeeds me is going to have to keep it up. This is not going to be solved by one party. It's not going to be solved by one administration. It's not going to be solved by slogans. It's not going to be solved by phony rhetoric. It's going to be solved by a sustained, all-of-the-above energy strategy. And no matter what you hear from some folks in an election year, the key part of this strategy over the last 3 years has been to increase safe, responsible oil production here at home while also pursuing clean energy for the future. We don't have to choose between one or the other. We got to do both. So, when it comes to oil production, under my administration, America is producing more oil today than at any time in the last 8 years. That is a fact. That's a fact. Under my administrations, we have a near record number of oil rigs operating right now, more working oil and gas rigs than the rest of the world combined. Think about that. That's a fact. We've opened up millions of new acres for oil and gas exploration where appropriate and where it is done safely. And we've approved more than 400 drilling permits since we put in place new safety standards to make sure that we don't have the same kind of spill that we had down in the Gulf a couple of years ago. And we've approved dozens of new pipelines to move oil around, including from Canada. Just this week, we announced that we'll do whatever we can to help speed the construction of a pipeline in Oklahoma that will relieve a bottleneck for oil that needs to get to the Gulf. And that's going to help create jobs and encourage production. So we're focused on American oil production. We are doing all that we can in a safe, responsible way to make sure that American oil production and gas production is high. But here's the thing. The amount of oil that we drill at home doesn't set the price of gas on its own. And the reason is because oil is bought and sold on the world energy market. And just like last year, the biggest thing that's causing the price of oil to rise right now is instability in the Middle East. This time it's Iran. But a lot of folks are nervous about what might happen there. And so they're anticipating there might be a big disruption in terms of flow. And when uncertainty increases, speculation on Wall Street can drive up prices even more. Those are the short-term factors at work here. So when you start hearing a bunch of folks saying somehow that there's some simple solution, you can turn a nozzle and suddenly we're going to be getting a lot more oil, that's just not how it works. Over the long term, the biggest reason oil prices will rise is because of growing demand in countries like China and India and Brazil. Just think about this. In 5 years, the number of cars on the road in China more than tripled. Over the last 5 years, the number of cars tripled. Nearly 10 million cars were added in China alone in 2010. 10 million cars, just in one country, in 1 year. So that's using up a lot of oil. And those numbers are only going to get bigger over time as places like China and India get wealthier. They're going to want to buy cars like we do, and they're going to want to fill them up like we do, and that's going to drive up demand. So what does this mean for us? What does this mean for America? It means that anybody who tells you that we can just drill our way out of this problem does not know what they're talking about, or they're not telling you the truth. One or the other.